So when I saw what the theme of tonight was, Are You Sure? It brought me back to my adolescence, brought me back to my teen years, brought me back to being an adult, when my friends would say to me, "Are you sure he's your dad? Are you sure that's really your brother and your sister? Maybe you're adopted because you're nothing like them." And they were right. My brother and my sister resembled my father. I resembled my mother. My brother and my sister were similar in thought and, their philosophies and everything to my father, and I was more like my mom. So, and also, during my time growing up, my father every once in a while would say to me, "I don't think you're mine." And I'd be like, "Well, of course, we have the same chin. Of course I'm yours. Our chins are alike. Of course you're my dad." So fast forward to a few years ago. My son called me one day and he said, "Mom, I did a DNA test, and what you've told me about our heritage is not here, and I think somebody's lying to you." I was like, "Well, that's impossible, because I know who I am. I know where I come from." And so he tells me that he is Irish, English, Scottish, and Welsh. And I'm like, "Well, where's the French and German?" He's like, "Well, there is no French and German." I'm like, So me thinking, the experts at MyHeritage got it wrong. So I'm going to take the same test through MyHeritage, and we'll straighten this out, no problem. So I forgot about it. 6 weeks later, the test comes in, and Irish, English, Scottish, and Welsh. And I'm like, I'm a little confused, because if you've had a DNA test before, you know that then you start to get matched up with people who have the same DNA as you. So all these names start rolling in. I have no idea who these people are. So I call my sister. Now, my sister, Diane, she started doing genealogy at a very, very young age because my uncle was very much into it. So Diane's interest grew from him. When he passed, he gave her all his research and everything about our family. So I called her and I said, "Hey, I did this, and I don't understand, what's going on here." And she got very upset with me. She's like, "Why did you do that? Why?" And she's 10 years older than I am. She's in her 70s at this point. And she's, "Why, you shouldn't have done that. You should have come to me first." Like, "Well, why would I go to you? I mean, I don't need your permission. I can just do what I want to do." So she said, "Okay." So then her tone changes, and she said, "Do me a favor, take another test through Ancestry, set me up as your person, and when you get the results in, I'll do some research." And by the way, she throws me a little teeny tiny crumb, and she said, "Don't be surprised if you see that we have different dads." So I was like, "Okay, well, what do you mean?" She said, "Never mind. Well, we'll talk about it." All right, sure. So now she gives this to me, and now my stomach's starting to turn a little bit. I'm thinking, this is, what did she mean by that? So 6 very long weeks later, I'm at my desk. She calls me at work and says, "Hey, sis," or should I say half-sister? And at that point, I completely went blank. I had no idea about anything. I just knew that what I had known was now just completely pulled out from underneath me. It was a really, really, really difficult time, because my boss, who had been with me at that moment, had said, "It doesn't matter. The man who raised you, he's always your dad. He's always your dad." But you know what? That's not true, because he wasn't a nice person. We didn't connect. And I always felt there was a little, I don't fit in here. I don't fit in with these people. And I'd always felt that way. She did research. No, actually, she said, "Well, call me later. I have a little story to tell you." Okay. So she found out when I was 5 years old, she found out that Warren wasn't my father. Fortunately, she knew who my father was. So I'll bring this to an end. That's okay. No, that's fine. So the thing that I'm sure about is that I know that my mother and I'm sorry. The person that she was in love with, his name was George, and I was named after him. And that, and I know that from the research that my daughter did on him, he was he was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force for 28 years, and he and my mother met on Long Island at one of those military dances they had way back when. And that's how they met. And I know that they were together for a while, and I know that I am sure that they loved each other, they cared for each other, and the fact that I have his name is just brings everything to a nice close for me. So thank you for letting me share my story.